A long time ago, in the quiet village of Jundari, there was a young woman named Nia. She was the daughter of Chief Odin, a man of great respect and wealth. But despite her beauty and her noble blood, no man in the village risked to ask for her hand in marriage. People whispered behind her back. Some said she was cursed. Others believed she carried a secret so dangerous that even love could not break it. But no one dared to tell her the truth. The village of Jundari was known for its traditions, where young men and women married at a certain age to uphold the customs of their ancestors, and villagers strongly believed on superstitious things also. But for Nia, things were different. She had reached the age of marriage, yet every time her father tried to arrange a suitor for her, the men would refuse. Some would not even meet her in person. When she walked through the village, people avoided eye contact, and even her own friends had grown distant. Nia was confused. She was not sick. She was not unkind. What was so wrong with her that no man wanted to marry her? She often sat by the riverbank, watching the other young women giggle and whisper about their suitors while she remained alone. The once joyful girl now carried a heavy heart, questioning why she was treated as if she carried a curse. One evening, as she walked past a group of women, their hushed voices caught her attention. "I feel sorry for her," one said. "She doesn't even know the truth," another replied. "If she ever finds out, it will destroy her." Nia's heart pounded. What truth were they talking about? Was there something about her she didn't know? That night, she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, determined to uncover the mystery that had shadowed her life. She could no longer ignore the whispers. She had to find out the truth, no matter how painful it might be. Determined to uncover the mystery, Nia forced her father to tell the truth. But his face grew dark, and he refused to answer. Her mother avoided her look, tears rising in her eyes. "You must never ask about this again, Nia," her father said. "For your own good." But how could she forget? The entire village was keeping something from her. Days turned into weeks, and the whispers around her only grew louder. It was as if everyone knew something she didn't. Nia felt trapped in a web of secrets, and no one was willing to help her untangle the truth. Then, one day, a stranger arrived in Jundari. A young warrior from a neighboring land named Kofi. He was strong, confident, and full of life. Unlike the others, he was not afraid to speak to her. Kofi approached Nia with kindness and curiosity. And soon, something unexpected happened. And soon, he declared his intention to marry her. He fell in love with her. The moment Kofi declared his intention to marry Nia, the entire village gasped in horror. The elders gathered immediately, their faces pale with fear. "You do not know what you are asking for. You must leave now, before it is too late." But Kofi refused. "If there is a secret, then tell me. Otherwise, I will not leave without Nia." Silence fell upon the village. The tension was unbearable. The elders exchanged nervous glances. The truth had been hidden for too long, but now, it could no longer be buried. It was time to reveal the secret. The village elders sighed in loss. But before they could speak, Nia's mother suddenly stepped forward. Her hands shaken, and her eyes were filled with pain. "Enough," she whispered. "She deserves to know." The village fell silent as Nia's mother took her daughter's hands and looked into her eyes. "Nia, my child, you were never meant to be born." Nia's heart stopped. "What do you mean?" she whispered. Tears streamed down her mother's face. "Before you were born, one old man, he lives in the jungle and known for his spiritual knowledge, and when he come to know about your birth, he came to me. He told me that my firstborn would bring disaster upon this village. The spirits forbade your existence, warning that if you ever took a husband, a great curse would awaken." The elder stepped forward, nodding seriously. "Your mother was given a choice. She could submission you to the spirits as an infant, or she could swear that you would never marry. She chose to keep you. And so, the village made a pact to protect you, and to protect ourselves." Nia suddenly remembered something. A memory buried deep in her past. As a child, she once overheard her mother crying, whispering prayers to the spirits, begging for forgiveness. She had seen the village elders visiting their home, speaking in quiet tones. Now it all made sense. Her mother's voice broke as she spoke her final words. I tried to challenge fate once, but fate is not so easily changed. And now, my daughter, the choice is no longer mine to make." The wind picked up, loud through the trees. The villagers trembled, as if the spirits themselves had heard the secret spoken aloud. Nia turned to Kofi, her voice shaking. "Do you still want to marry me now?" Kofi hesitated. The village watched in silence. If he said yes, was he prepared for the consequences? Was he willing to risk everything for love? The weight of destiny hung over them like a storm about to break. And in that moment, Nia realized, her life was never truly hers to control. Kofi took a deep breath and looked into Nia's eyes. "I don't believe on superstitious things there is no proof and evidence. I believe in you," he said firmly. His words were strong, but the fear in the air was real. Before Nia could reply, a powerful wind roared through the village. The sky turned dark, and the ground shook. The villagers gasped in terror. Something had awakened. A loud, frightening roar echoed from the mountains. Then, out of the shadows, a huge, terrifying spirit appeared. Its eyes burned red, and its body was made of spinning darkness. It had been waiting for this moment. Because Nia had defied fate, it had come to take what was owed. "The prophecy!" An elder screamed. "It's coming true." The villagers panicked. Some ran, others fell to their knees, praying for protection. The elders held their sacred charms, chanting in fear, but nothing could stop the spirit. Nia's mother cried. "I tried to protect you, Nia," she cried. The spirit's fiery eyes locked onto Nia. Its voice was cold and filled with anger. "You should not exist," it whispered. "Your mother broke the rules of the spirits. Now, the village must pay the price." Nia felt her heart beating. Was this really her fault? Had her birth hopeless the village? Then, she took a deep breath and stood tall. "No," she said. "I won't let this happen." She stepped forward, her voice steady. "If my life is a mistake, then let me fix it." The spirit circled her, barking. The villagers screamed for her to run, but she didn't move. Kofi grabbed her arm. "Nia, please don't," he begged. But she had already made her choice. She couldn't let her people suffer because of her. There was only one way to stop this. She took one last look at the village, at Kofi, at her mother. Then, with all her courage, she prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice. As the evil spirit roared, the village shaken in fear. The ground shook violently, and the wind cried like an angry beast. The elders fell to their knees, crying out, "We told you. The curse has awakened." Nia stood firm, her heart beating. She had spent her entire life believing she was cursed, but now, standing before the spirit, she felt something different, strength. Then, from the back of the crowd, an old man stepped forward. He was the village's oldest and wisest elder, known as Baba Jengo. He had always been respected, though few had dared to question the village's superstitions. But now, as he walked toward Nia, his eyes burned with certainty. "Enough." Baba Jengo's voice boomed, silencing the cries of panic. "Open your eyes, people of Jundari. You are not seeing the truth." The villagers turned to him, confused. "But Baba, the spirit has come. The curse is real," someone shouted. Baba Jengo shook his head. "No, the curse is a lie, one that has been fed by fear for generations. This spirit is not here because of Nia. It is here because of us. Our fear has given it power. Our belief in this curse has created a monster." The villagers gasped. Nia's breath caught in her throat. Could it be true? Had their fear itself created the very thing they were afraid of? Kofi stepped forward, his voice filled with determination. "Nia has done nothing but love this village. If she were truly cursed, wouldn't she have brought harm long ago?" Baba Jengo nodded. "Exactly. We have called her a curse, but what has she done? She has lived with kindness, suffered in silence, and still, she stands with courage before us. A cursed one would not act with such love." The villagers hesitated, torn between their fear and the wisdom of Baba Jengo's words. Then, Nia took a deep breath and walked forward. The spirit let out another deafening roar, but she did not flinch. I refuse to live in fear anymore, she said firmly. And neither should you. She reached out her hand, and in that moment, something incredible happened. The spirit wavered. It flickered like a dying flame. The more confidence she showed, the weaker it became. The villagers began to whisper. Could Baba Jengo be right? One by one, they began stepping forward, no longer shrinking in fear. The curse is not real, someone whispered. The elders looked at each other, their faces filled with shame. They had lived their whole lives believing in a lie. As the people let go of their fear, the spirit let out one final cry, before vanishing into the wind. The village was silent. Then, cheers exploded. Relief flooded through the crowd. The curse was broken, not by magic, but by truth. Tears filled Nia's mother's eyes. She rushed forward, embracing her daughter. "Forgive me, my child," she cried. "I was blinded by fear." Nia held her mother close. "It is over now." The village, once divided by superstition, was now united by truth. And in the days that followed, they gathered not to sorrow, but to celebrate. Under the bright sun, Nia and Kofi stood before the people, their hands joined in love. The village, once afraid to let her marry, now rejoiced as they blessed their union. The drums echoed through the land, laughter filled the air, and for the first time in years, Jundari knew true happiness. The girl who was once seen as a curse had become the light that freed them all. Fear and ignorance can trap us in false beliefs, making us blind to the truth. When we judge others based on superstition rather than understanding, Nia's life was nearly destroyed by superstition. From birth, she was judged, feared, and rejected, not because of who she was, but because of a belief that had no proof. Always judge the things on the basis of proofs and facts, not only on the heard things and superstitious things.